Chapter 58, Introduction to Square Root, Cubic Roots, and so on, and Radical Expressions. The basics. The square root of 64 is 8 because 8 squared is equal to 64. The square root of 64 is not negative 8 in spite of what some authors maintain, and in spite of negative 8 quantity square being negative 8 times negative 8, which is 64. Okay? Authors who do it this way refer to the square root of negative 8 as a secondary square root, and they keep the positive square root as a main square root. And later you are told that the square root of a number is not negative. So do away with it immediately. Now, if x squared is 64, then x is plus or minus the square root of 64. But the square root of 64 is 8. Now you take the 8, or you take the opposite of the 8. I am not saying that the square root of 64 is negative 8. The square root of 49, excuse me. The square root of 49 is 7. This is like you have a little 2 here, which is invisible, so you get the second power, which is equal, the square root is equal to 7. Note that 7 times 7, the pair comes out as a single, which is 7. Note that that's what I said here. Similarly, if you have the cube root of 8, that's cube root, and you need 2 times 2 times 2. You need 3 factors 2 in order for a single to come out. If you had the fourth root of 81, 81 is 3 to the 4th power. You need 4 3s, 4 factors 3 for 1 to come out. That should be a 3, not a 4. So a 4th power comes out as a single factor. Even roots are never negative. Even roots are never negative. Odd roots can be positive or negative. So the second root, the square root of a number is not negative. The 4th root, the 6th root, the 8th root, and so on are not negative. But odd roots can be positive, like the 5th root of negative 32. Negative 2 to the 5th power is negative 32. You need 5 factors. You have 5 factors to come out as a single, so negative 2. Then we'll come back to higher roots later on. This will just to get you an idea, to get you thinking. So the square root of 25, 5 times 5 comes out as 5. The opposite of that is negative 5, but the square root of negative 5 is not a real number, because 5 squared is equal to 25, and negative 5 quantity square is also positive 25. You never get negative 25 when you square a real number, Square root of 36, 6 times 6 comes out. Square root of 36, 36 is 4 times 9. 4 is 2 times 2, 3 is 3 times 3. One element of the pair comes out, another factor of this other pair comes out. 1, 2, 1, 3 comes out, you get 6. And square root of 36 is indeed 6. The square root of a squared, b squared. Now if you have multiplication, careful, multiplication, not additional subtraction. So if you have multiplication, you can factor out a squared, which is a, b squared, which is b. And I'm assuming that a and b is not negative. That's why I don't have absolute values here. But as I said, be careful when you have plus or minuses. The square root of 3 squared is not 3. The square root of 4 squared is not 4, because 3 plus 4 is 7, whereas when you square these, you get 16 and 9, which is 25, the square root of which is 5, which is not what I have over here. This is the same thing, so that could be equal, but this is not equal and this is not equal. It is worth repeating that the square root of a times b is square root of a times square root of b, but square root of a plus or minus b is not square root of a plus or minus square root of b. Now how about simplifying square root of a squared over b squared? That's just a over b. And you could write one square root, or you could make it the ratio or the fraction with 2 individual square roots. The square root of 5 squared, square root of 5 times square root of 5, which is square root of 5 times 5, or just 5. Note that the square root of a number, when you square that quantity, you must get this 5 back, and you do. So square root of 7 times square root of 7 is square root of 7 times 7, which is 7. Square root of x times another square root of x is square root of x squared, or just x. And again, this is not a negative number. Okay? This is greater than or equal to 0. What is the square root of 7? According to a calculator, the square root of 7 is about 2.645751311, and so on and so on. There are infinitely many digits here. What should you get when you square that number? Okay, well, you should get the 7 back. Why don't you try it and see? Put this in your calculator, square it. You might get 7, or you might get 6.99999, or you might get 7.0000, and the last rounded digit is 1. If you put this in yourself, if you take the 7, make it the square root, and then immediately square, without punching in any numbers yourself, you will always get the right answer, the 7. I'll tell you why this is someday.